y'all, it's your homegirl Ronnika, and back with the Please Do Tell podcast. So, I told y'all that we're all about themes now, all about themes. And then this month we've been talking about knowing your worth, understanding your worth, rediscovering your worth. So, today we're going to get into some positive stuff, some stuff that'll just really help you, some stuff that I even think for this week, because I just said even before we came in the studio, it's been one heck of a 48 hours. So I'm going to need this conversation today. Okay. But let me start with a little story time. So the color that I'm actually wearing today is binge worthy. And let me just tell you, I'm obsessed with Insecure. I can probably quote every scene, every line. Like, I'm serious. Like, I'm over here like, well, which friend is it? I think I'm Issa in this season. Like, I'm really trying to just walk away from some stuff and say, like, what is serving me? But if you remember in season 4, that's when Issa and Molly discover Self-Care Sunday. Mm-hmm. So when I say I needed some self-care today, here we are. And that's why Sharonda's here. So I'm excited to have Sharonda in the building. So Sharonda's going to quick introduce herself, and then we're going to talk about self-care. So that's the topic for today. Hi, Sharonda.
Hi, Jay. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Absolutely.
I am Sharonda. I am a native of Benton Harbor, but I now live in Houston, which I absolutely love. I'm excited to be on your show today. I'm just glad that it was able to work with our schedule.
Yes.
So, super excited.
Okay, Sharonda, we're going to get right into it.
Okay,
because
go.
When I asked Sharonda, like, hey, well, we talked about this a while ago about her being on the podcast, but now it's super special because she gets to talk about really her growth with self-care. Yes. So, Sharonda, just lead us on the story of, like, when you started, I don't even, it's not even your lowest, but that moment when you just started to see yourself slip, like something is wrong.
Yes. Okay. So what I would say is, I think I noticed back in maybe like February or March, something wasn't right.
So this was recent.
This was very recent.
Okay.
This was very recent. So just a quick backstory. 2022 was just a rough year for me. Somebody who I loved, who I love a lot, went through like a state of psychosis. And until you see mental illness up close and personal, you never know how detrimental it is to a family, to yourself, to that individual. So all last year, I had to help deal with that situation. And then in December, I lost my aunt, who was like a mom to me. And then in January, I lost an uncle. And then in February, we lost a cousin. And then in March, I lost my pastor. So it was just like loss after loss after loss after loss after loss. I remember being on the phone with a friend and saying, listen, something is wrong. Like, my cup is empty. I have nothing left to give. And it was just a state to where I had never been in before. And so one of the things I learned, because I do work at a county hospital in Houston, and you will be surprised at the amount of people you see come into the facility, especially since COVID happened, who just need that psychiatric care, attention, the help. But America, in my opinion, is not equipped to handle mental illness. So
speak on it.
America is just not equipped to handle mental illness, because what they, and this is just coming from, working in a healthcare facility, they'll put you in a mental facility at the most for maybe like 10 days. And then it's like, okay, if you're not a threat to yourself or a threat to others, then there's really no help for you, or they're going to either heavily medicate you. So anyway, working in my position at the hospital, I'm a project manager, so I oversee patient satisfaction. But I work really closely with our nursing staff. So once the pandemic happened, they had this series where they called it Self-Care for Healthcare. And so it was a book. It was written by the lady. She wrote Chicken Noodle Soup for the Soul.
Okay.
Yeah. So she wrote this book for our nursing staff, and so my job is on a monthly basis. I'll read it, and then I'll go to the nursing staff to say, okay, like how are you guys taking care of yourself? Like what do you do? Like how does this chapter relate to you and what you're doing on your unit? So I did that on a monthly basis, but I'm talking to them, but I'm not talking to myself. And so I don't know. It just, like, one day I was like, I need some help. Like, I really need some help. Like, I was at my lowest point, and you really don't know. It kind of just creeps up on you. And I was just laying in the bed. Like, I would go to work, and then I'd just come home. I'd lay in the bed. I wouldn't answer my phone. I didn't want to talk to anybody. And so I said, okay, I got to do something about this. Like something is wrong. So I started, well, I had a therapist for a while, but I never shared this part of my life with my therapist. I don't know why, because it's like you don't want to tell somebody that something is wrong with you, right? Or you're feeling a certain kind of way, because the first thing people think are you suicidal? Are you okay? And it's like, no, it's not that. It's just that it's this feeling that is indescribable. And, it's just something. I don't know what that something is. I can't put a finger on it. I don't know if it's grief. I don't know if it's just, I'm at a low point in my life. I just really don't know what it is. And then I knew that I had to change something because I started having these chest pains. And so I called my doctor, and I was just, I was talking to the nurse, and I said, hey, I've been having these chest pains probably for a few weeks now, and I want to just come and get it looked out. And then my nurse was like, how long?
Wait, yeah, run that back one more time. How long?
It was like a few weeks.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And so she was like, you need to go to the emergency room. She's like, because you may be having a heart attack. And I was like, what? And so I was like, I don't think I'm having a heart attack, though. I these are the things that I work in healthcare, so I know the signs. And I said, it's just something. She was like, please go to the emergency room. So I went back and forth with her. I did not. She was like, we're going to call, and they're going to be expecting you. So I go to the emergency room, and the first thing they do is an EKG. And so the doctor was like, explain your symptoms to me. So I started explaining my symptoms to the doctor. And he was like, maybe you have a PE. And I was like, a pulmonary embolism? I was like, oh my God. And so at this point, I am a hypochondriac. If you know me, I am very dramatic. And so, the tears running down my eyes. I'm calling my mom. I'm like, they think I may have a PE. Like, oh my God, I'm so afraid. Like, I'm by myself. I didn't tell nobody. Because one thing about me, like, I have family in Houston, but I don't like to burden anybody. So I'm sitting in the ER by myself, and I'm literally just in tears waiting. I'm doing all these tests. Anybody do all the tests, and they come back, and the doctor's like, I can't find anything, but I still want you to see a cardiologist. And so I was like, okay. So I go see the cardiologist. Of course, she does another EKG. I had like an ultrasound. I had a nuclear ultrasound. I'm sorry, a nuclear stress test, a stress test. Everything you can think of, I had. You're right. I had all these tests done, and this was over a span of maybe from March through June. Okay. Right, that I was having all these tests done, and this is how long I had to set these chest pains, and so I asked her. I said, well, I was like, maybe I need to just start back getting physical. I told her, I said, I got to do something because I just don't feel myself, right? And I got to do something. So I changed up my routine. Like, I get up now at 6 o'clock, and I dedicate that time to my daily devotion. So I wake up, I pray, I read my devotion for the day, do my Bible verses for the day, whatever my devotion tells me to do, I do that. And then I'll go to the gym. So I go to the gym first thing after I finish that. My prayer and my, reading my devotion for the day. I go to the gym, and I started doing this has started to become my daily routine. And then I started reading, right? I started back reading. I read this book by Judith. I think her last name was Voiced or something like that, and it's called Necessary Losses. And the book is just so good. It talks about just in life, you're going to have these losses, regardless if you like it or not. You're going to go through a loss or two or three or 10 or 100, Yeah. And so I started to just read this book, and then I'm an overthinker. And so I grabbed another book. It was called, I think it's overthinking or women who overthink. And I really overthink at nighttime, right? Like when you lay down,
Yes,
you want to
yes.
just get focused. And so it kind of just gave you some tips on, how you can combat that. But I had to also learn how to say no as a part of my self-care, because my cup was empty. And you want to be available, and you want to be able to be standing in the gap, but sometimes you can't. Sometimes you just have to say, I can't do it.
Yeah.
And that's the stage that I'm at now. And it's tough because people think that, you're abandoning them. They really don't understand. And it's like, no, I'm not abandoning you. I'm taking care of me. And if you can't appreciate me taking care of me, then I'm sorry, that I can't help you.
Because there's a difference between a friend saying, like, I ain't heard from you versus, like, I was giving you space.
Right.
There's a big difference in that.
Right.
Like, from feeling that guilt to, like, feeling supported.
Exactly. And so for me, I have always been a strong friend. So I really didn't want anyone to know, like, what it is that I was going through, like, what I was feeling. Like, I'm getting emotional now. I don't know why I'm getting emotional. But I didn't want anybody to know. Like, it was my burden, and I felt like I should carry that burden on my own. But I really had, like, when some of my friends found out what was going on, they was really upset with me because I did not share. And it's like, well, because, I just think that there's some journeys and some roads in life you have to take on your own. And that's just where I am right now. It's just like, I need to take this path for myself, and I need to do it for myself. It's not that I don't want your support. It's not that I don't need your support. I need to do this for me.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
And I know that Oprah also says that no is a complete statement.
Yes, it is.
Like, really saying, like, no, I can't do it. Just no.
No.
No. Because I'm also learning that, too, that just to, girl, stand on that. No.
And it's so hard, right? Because that's one thing, like, my guy, he's very good at saying no. And so, if I ask him for something, or if I ask him to do something and he doesn't want to do it, he's going to tell me no. And I just think that is so devastating. But it's really powerful, right? Because you're saying no, like, I'm taking care of me. Like, I don't want to do it. And I'm not obligated, right?
Yeah.
And this is what I learned.
Yeah.
This is what I learned on my journey. Nobody owes you anything. Nobody owes you anything. Nobody is obligated to give you anything. If people give you something, it's because they want to. But I'm not obligated. I don't care how long we've been friends. I don't care if you're my family. I'm not obligated to you. I was obligated to my children to raise them until they're 18, right? But after that, I'm not obligated. I don't have to do it.
Yeah.
So
now that's big in itself. That also, okay, you're saying no, but then you're saying, like, I don't have to do something, because I think so many times we even, if I don't do it, it's not going to get done.
right.
And then now you're like, no.
Yes.
Because even when you talk about, you say your guy, and because I can even remember back to when I would call home, my dad would say no. I'm like, how? What do you mean? I'm in college because you want me here and you're telling me no?
Yes, but it's such a powerful
Man, now I look back on it, I was like, I learned so much from him telling me no, because I was like, oh, well, I have gifts.
Yes.
I can figure it out. And then I had to start figuring it out.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so that one no can lead to so many other things.
Yes, it can. Yes, I totally agree. I agree.
So how do you even navigate, because since we said, like, this is like a new journey for you, when do you find those moments where, like, resorting back to the old, like, well, maybe this one time?
I will say this. I recently had a major falling out with a very, very, very close friend of mine. Somebody who I held very near and dear to my heart. I had a friend, and she was getting married. And I had and this is another thing, right? Like I had stretched myself so thin this year, just with obligations that I made. And so because I stretched myself so thin, I told her, I was talking with her sister, and I was like, I'm not going to be able to do the bridal shower or the bachelorette party. However, her wedding is what's most important, so that's where I'm going to be at. And so, not that I didn't think that those things were important, but I just had so much on my plate that I could not do it. It's not that I didn't want to do it. It's just that I had, and then this is this is in the midst of, me trying to figure out like where these chest pains coming from, and trying to deal with my emotions and everything that I had going on, dealing with these necessary losses in my life, right? And she was really upset with me, and I tried to have a conversation, and it just didn't pan out to anything. And so it was very hurtful, because it just spiraled into this thing that I did not want it to be. And me, because I didn't want to make it about me, right? I didn't go into detail with everything that I had going on. I didn't go into detail that I was back and forth in the hospital or back and forth at the doctor's office and taking all these tests and doing all these things, because then the conversation becomes about me. And I'm taken away from your big day. And I'm not trying to do that, because every girl, dreams about her wedding, from when she was a little girl, and all the things that she wants at her wedding. I didn't want to take that away from her. To make the conversation about me, but the conversation, it just went all the way left. And make a long story short, I did not end up going to the wedding. Like, we had a major falling out, and it was just really hurtful, because it's like, why would you think that I'm not happy for you? Why would you think, if I'm telling you that I just can't do it, why is that not enough? You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Because if we've been friends all this time, if I tell you, like, listen, I just cannot. I know you and your friends, like the heartbeats. Yeah. And I love y'all. Yeah. I'm quite sure if you was to tell one of them, like, listen, I just cannot do it, I would, because of the closeness that I see with y'all, that I would just see that they were like, okay, something has to really be going on with RJ to say that she just cannot.
Yeah. I wasn't at Alicia's vow renewal. Mm-hmm. Because I too had a rough 2022, and then it was like Delta had came up, and that was really tough. It's like
congratulations,
thank you. And it was, I had to really tell her. I said, I don't know how I'm going to swing everything. Like, I know that I try to be there for everybody, but I said, this is one of those situations that I know I won't be there. And she said, girl, like, we good. Just like that, like, girl, we good. I said, oh, okay. She said, do not stress about that. Like, I know it's expensive. It's in the summer. Don't worry about it. And because it was like, I had to eventually say, like, oh, well, this happened. This came through. But it was really hard for me to just kind of say that, because even at I want to say maybe a month before, I was still trying to go.
Figure it out.
Yeah. And then she was like, no, do not do that to yourself. Like, it's okay. And that's when you just celebrate friendship, sisterhood, having sisters, all of that. Because I didn't want to make it about me. Like, girl, I mean, I got my passport, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it.
Right.
And for her to receive that and say, like, it's okay. It's all right. And that's how a lot of my other friends are too. And then that's how I also, heartbeats will intertwine with other groups of friends, because I'm like, this is what a village is like.
Right.
And then also everyone in that group also understands, like, life happens.
Oh my God, that has been my statement lately. Life happens. You just don't know when it's going to happen to you.
Yeah.
And when it comes, it's like a flood. Yeah. You just like, oh my God, what? I got to do what?
Yes.
What? Oh. So yeah, again, necessary losses, and so it was just a very hurtful situation, because I was there from the beginning, and I couldn't see it through the end.
Yeah.
Not the end, but I guess you could say the new beginning.
Yeah.
And but I had to take care of myself. The old me would have been like, oh, well, okay. But I just was not in a good place. I just was not just physically, mentally, emotionally. I just was not in a good place. I just had so much going on. I had stretched myself thin. And this is the last year that I'm doing that.
Yeah.
I told my parents, I told my kids, like, this is the last time that I am just stretching myself thin to the point to where, you know, it's a lot, and it's a lot of weight to carry, and life is tough. You know, it's not always these peaches and creams and I'm happy all the time. And I think social media gives this facade that everybody's life is great. And it's like,
Girl.
no, life is not great. Like, you may see me smiling on social media sometime, but I probably was just shed 1,000 tears. Like,
yes.
okay, girl, get it together.
Yes.
Get it together. But I'm doing the work. I'm doing the work because it's necessary, and it's time, right? It's time, and it's time. It's time. And my friend Kendall, you know Kendall.
Oh,
Kendall
yeah.
said to me, she was like, oh God, how did she phrase it? She said, you never give yourself time to relax because you always want to move on to the next thing. And you have to learn how to give yourself time to relax. She was like, you know, being that you had your children young, you were, you know, a mom. And then once your children grew up, you know, you were in a relationship. And then, you know, you still take care of your kids and you want to take care of your parents. She said, you haven't given yourself time to relax. Like, you have to relax. I said, what is relaxing? I'm sorry, what is that? What is that? What does that mean? Like, what does it mean to relax? Like, what is that? You know, and so that's just where I am now. I'm learning how to not dance to every tune in the jukebox.
I love that. Oh, I love that. Okay. That's going to be totally quotable somewhere. Okay. But so Kendall be checking you too. So yes. I said that's like the little sister that my mama didn't birth, but she gave to me. Yes, so thank you. Absolutely. It's like, thank you, Corinthia, for sharing your little sister. Because I was actually friends with her older sister first. Oh, that's how I met her. Okay, yeah.
You know what? And I think Kendall and I think we met at Wine Down Wednesday.
Yes.
Sorry, Kendall.
Be like, ain't nobody else gonna watch. You know, right. The parentals ain't gonna watch this. It's okay. It's okay.
Yes.
So there's one picture that I'm talking about pockets of joy, like finding your pockets of joy even recently. Because there's a picture that I think a lot of us commented and was like, oh my God, you're glowing. I think it was a group of 4. You had on all black and you had on a hat and you all had, I don't know if you were like bar hopping.
Oh, but recently, yes.
You were like, yes. I said, okay.
Yes.
Glow. Yes.
That's when my journey started, right? Ooh, like that's when my journey started because I am a nurturer by nature. And I want to take care of everybody else. And when you take care of everybody else, you put yourself on the back burner. And I was just I cannot describe this place that I was in. It was just bad. It was low. And I said, you know what? I'm tired of taking care of everybody else and putting myself on the back burner. Because you give and you give and you give, and then your cup is empty. Right? Like, your cup is literally empty. You know, some people are like, yeah, my cup runneth over. My cup was dry. Right, you dry. Like, wait, where can I get
it's like, a drop.
A drop is something. I had nothing left, and I told God, if He saved me, right, and if He brought me through this storm, that I would learn how to take care of me, and that's what I'm doing. And if that means saying no, if that means losing a friend, if that means, you know, somebody not liking me or not wanting to deal with me, then I'm okay with that. I know that everybody's not going to agree, right? Especially when you're so used to saying yes to everyone. Necessary losses.
Yeah.
Get the book. It's a awesome book. It just talks about just necessary losses, and call it selfish, call it what you want, but we get one opportunity, one chance at this thing called life.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be on my deathbed like shoulda, coulda, woulda, and I should have did this or I should have did that. I don't want to be that person.
Yeah.
I don't want to be her.
There was one thing that happened recently that shook me, that had me just really take a step back and say, you need to take care of yourself. Mm-hmm. So when I talk about 2022, that's when I went on high blood pressure medication. Mm-hmm. And I said, I don't want to live like this. Mm-hmm. And my doctor was saying that you're going to kill yourself. Mm. You're thin. Mm-hmm. You're thin. You're trying to do all these things for other people. Mm-hmm. You're speaking up and you're just like, I don't have any protection. Like I'm out here putting literally with words, putting my life on the line. And she said, who's covering you? Mm. And I had to, seriously take a step back. But what happened recently is that when Tara Phillips died, I just sat there like, what? And like a lot of people just shocked, like, no, this ain't what I'm reading. And
I saw her. She was at I saw her at a birthday party, and when I saw it, I was just like, wow.
Yeah, yes.
She was so vibrant, right?
Yes.
I didn't know her personally, but every time I saw her, she always had like this 1,000-watt smile.
Full of life.
Life.
Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm. So I met her sister first. Mm-hmm. When I first started doing Grief Talk Tuesday and just doing the journey of grief, her sister shared the story about losing her father. And so I know Tara and I would just communicate on Snapchat and stuff like that, but to hear that she died, it was like, if you didn't need no other sign to get to choose you.
Yes.
Because she was like, she died living. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I'm sitting up here and I'm just like in a low point and I'm not living.
Right.
If you need any wake up call, let something like that happen to you, like someone close in age to you, and you're just like, what, Lord, what are you trying to send to us, to all of us?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I think even recently, because even yesterday, one of my sorors was like, you losing weight. I said, girl, I had to do something. I had to do something because I found myself just kind of looking in the mirror like, that's another reason why I wasn't doing the podcast. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to be on camera.
Are you serious?
Yeah. I didn't want to be on camera, and then it was a lot of people tell me what I should be doing or what I should be talking about on the podcast, that I had to take some time and say, no, this is what you're supposed to be doing. Mm-hmm. But when my mama checked me and said, where's the podcast? That's why we came back. Cause it was real stern. So when we talk about self-care, it's also looking around and just really observing, like, I want better for myself.
Yeah, you have to. You have to want better for yourself. Otherwise, you're going to be, somewhere, like you said, just trying to figure out what's going on medication at the doctor. Yeah. I'm telling you, because I was in and out the hospital, in and out of doctors' offices, and nobody but my mother knew. Do you know how hard it is to try to go on with life and to, you acting like everything is okay, but you're not sharing these stories because, again, you're the strong one. And to even fathom for a minute that, you're having this moment of weakness, it's just like, no, I can't. Mm-hmm. But I believe in sharing. And so that's why I'm so, I'm just so happy that you asked me to come today.
Yes.
Because, people got to know, like, you got to take care of you. Mm-hmm. You got it starts with you. And I started coining the phrase, how when you're on the airplane, when they say, if the cabin pressure should change.
Yes.
Put on your oxygen mask first. And that's what I'm telling myself. I got to put on my oxygen mask and save my life before I'm able to save anybody else's life.
Woo. That's how you complete a full story time. But if you can provide, I'm just like, oh, okay. 3, like what you would say is your top 3 self-care tips or just things to do, or even like what's on your, do you have a bucket list of like self-care things that you want to do?
So, I will give you my top three. My top three is the moment I open my eyes, I'm praying to God. I'm thanking God for another opportunity, because that means I still have purpose.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
He's giving me another chance. I read my devotion because I'm feeding myself that word, right? And then the third thing I do is I exercise. Sometimes I do 2 a day. I get up at 6 a.m. I do my fasted cardio. And then when I get home from work, I do my weights. Because working in healthcare is stressful. Mm-hmm. And so I have to, relieve that stress some kind of way. So that's why I would say, pray, read your word, feed the body, your spirit body, and then work out, take care of your physical self. Yeah. And I've been feeling great ever since I started doing that. Yes. I'm not all the way there.
Work in progress.
Work in progress, okay. Yes.
All right, Sharonda. So do you have any final thoughts, takeaways before we complete this story time today?
So my final thought would be, this is such a full circle moment for me, because I remember, I didn't know you, but you wrote your book.
Yeah.
And I purchased your book.
I remember that.
And I was like, oh my God, this girl is so awesome. Like, I love her. And then when you started your grief talk and then your podcast, I was like, oh, I would love to sit with her. And so it's here. I am so excited. I absolutely love story time. I love Please Do Tell. I do. So that is my final thought. Like, this is a full circle moment for me.
Sharonda, thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
I'm just, because we would giggle about other stuff when Sharonda was working at the high school and I was working across the street.
Yes.
Ooh, boy, do we have some good little chuckles.
Yes, we do.
Okay, yes. But Sharonda, thank you. Like, because Sharonda's she's here visiting. And yes. She was like, girl, I'm going to be there. So I said, Jake, let's get her on the calendar. Yes. So thank you for stopping by. Yes. We can have story time anytime.
I know. I love this.
Yeah. So it's like, come back anytime. But this wraps up this episode of the podcast. We were all about self-care. I hope your takeaway is to take care of you and say no to some other things. Okay. Say yes to you and no to other stuff, okay? So this is your homegirl, Ronnika, with the Please Do Tell podcast, and our beautiful guest, Sharonda. So we'll see you next time.